This is Scott Garber back in the saddle with my man Andrew Petcash. Excited to bring on our new friends, new partners here at the Profluence community, Michael Axman and Jake Fleshner over at Nucleus. Fellas, welcome to the podcast. How are we doing today?
We're doing amazing. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
This is an incredible community, so we love being here.
No, really excited to have you guys here. Little housekeeping, guys. We're going to go ahead and run this. Typically, the interview goes, 20, 25, 30 minutes. Then we're going to open this up to Q&A. And I think we'll have quite a few questions, just by the sheer nature of what you guys are doing in the market. But let's hop right into it, guys. Individually and collectively, tell us who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then we'll build from there.
Yeah, happy to kick off and then pass it to Jake. So it's great to meet you guys. I'm Michael Axman. I'm from New York originally, moved over to Los Angeles after studying at the Kelley School of Business in Indiana, majored in entrepreneurship and worked at an early stage high growth tech company in LA on the growth team. We raised a couple $100 million and grew very, very quickly. And what I realized at that time was that I was really interested in investing, startups, the venture ecosystem at large. So I started my own company called Axman Ventures, connecting the dots in that ecosystem, connecting family offices, angel investors, high net worth individuals, family offices with startup founders, because it was easy for me to do, and people really value those connections, given it's the fuel to the fire for founders who are looking to raise capital and grow their company. I did that successfully for a few years before starting Nucleus with Jake, which we'll jump into in a second, but I'll let him talk about his background.
Thanks, Michael. So Mike is the New York side. I'm the LA side, I guess, but definitely seeing a lot of familiar faces on here. So hi, everyone. My name's Jake. I'm from Los Angeles. I went to the University of Michigan. Go Blue. We got a big game going on Saturday. We're playing Texas. Hopefully we'll get the win. But yeah, my background is in the sports entrepreneurship space, I'd say. While I was at the University of Michigan, I started a company called Space Trade, and that was all about connecting local businesses to each other. So we had about 42 businesses that were locally there that were on the platform, and we scaled it up. I actually started with my brother too, so I can give a little bit of background on starting a business with your family too. But we actually sold the business to the university, so I got a really early start in entrepreneurship. And then right after graduating, I worked for someone named David Meltzer, who I'm sure some of you in this group and chat know. And I was his right-hand man and chief revenue officer. So I was there for 5 years, helping on partnerships, helping with startups raise capital in some capacity, helping on the speaking side, kind of like as his agent, but also just developing my network. So Mike, when I started this business close to a year ago, October 1st is going to be a year in, and we're really excited to be here and dive in the community.
Appreciate it, fellas. I'm curious, Jake, at Michigan, they have a lot of good sports business stuff. You ever get involved with any of that? I know I see a ton of information from that side.
Yeah, so I majored in sport management, and the Michigan Sports Business Conference is, I think now it's the biggest sports business conference out of any school. So I was deeply involved when I was there, but it's just continued to increase and expand for what they're able to do.
Yeah, from a networking standpoint, I'm curious, like both of your businesses before and then now as a natural synergy, what's sort of the art of connecting or the art of networking, and what have you learned from your experience and some insights others can take away from it?
Yeah, it's a great question, Andrew. I can tell you, everyone always talks about how your network is your net worth, and I'm sure every individual on this call right here can attest to some level of success they found from the connections, the relationships that they've built and maintained throughout their lives. And for us, that's why we do what we do, and it's people first. People like to do business with people, and so we're in the business of creating and maintaining those relationships, and figuring out really what different people are looking for when it comes to objectives, both personally and professionally, and then helping them achieve those goals by connecting the dots for them and providing context on both sides. So we're playing the long game here. A lot of times I would say a majority of the connections we make, there may not be a transaction that occurs per se. However, both sides of that connection oftentimes find value, whether it's learning, whether it's additional connections, 1 degree away. And to us, that's a win, because both of those parties then look at Nucleus, our company, more favorably. And there's more potential for all three of us to do work in the future.
Yeah, we really think it's an art. So I think the power of the warm introduction, I don't think it's studied. We don't think it's studied enough. Of course, you could do like cold outreach on LinkedIn or all these platforms, but there's not that main connection. If you think about it yourself in your life, when someone that you trust and you love and that you know connects you to someone, there's a very high likelihood that you're going to talk to that person and be open-minded going into the call. And we realize that at Nucleus. So that's what we've been able to do. And we really believe in the power of those warm intros. And then on another front, you really never know what someone is going to need. I think when it comes down to it, the power of networking, I think a lot of people think of networking as, hey, I want to go to an event and I want to sell my product or I want to make more money with people. But at the end of the day, networking is way bigger than that. I think you have to see networking as, hey, I just want to make friends and meet more people. And if those people can potentially work with me, amazing. But if not, I just made a new friend and a new network. And especially with the power of social media now, you never know where people are going to be and who and what people are seeing. And we kind of trying to find a way to kind of bridge those together and grow as a community and as a collaborators. Yeah.
And what's your strategy on when you meet new people, like creating it so now the next time as, I remember when we first met you guys, I know Scott and Jake, you've known each other for a while, but when I first met Mike a couple months ago, I mean, technically it was cold at that point, and then you slowly create it to be more warm, where I'll take things from your side and vice versa. What's sort of the strategy internally to make sure as you meet new people, you can sort of bucket them to where they start to believe everything from your side is warm? How do you approach that?
It all starts with the give mentality. There's a lot of people in today. I think it's just human nature, like Jake mentioned. We're always looking to better ourselves personally, professionally, and we think that starts with taking. You have to take, but like you have to give 3, 4, 5 times before you can take anything. And so for us, like Andrew on that intro call, if you remember, I really probably asked you more questions than you were comfortable with. I maybe was annoying about it to understand. All right, you have Profluence, media, you got the fund, you got everything you guys got going on, and overlap that with the network that we have to see who I can get you in front of to help you achieve those goals and give with nothing, not expecting anything in return. And clearly, to the point we're at now, we've both been able to benefit from that partnership longer term because of the way that started off on the right foot. So we try and give as many times as we can, so much so that when people sometimes ask us like, hey, you've been so helpful, how can we help you? We actually sometimes shut it down. We're like, you know what? Like, we really appreciate the offer, but for now, let's keep focusing on making sure that we can get you where you need to be. And then later down the line, maybe we save that ask, or maybe there's another opportunity that comes up where we can work together in the future.
Yeah. And adding on to that, I think it's just about finding commonality. Everyone wants to connect to people that they think that they have anything in common with. And especially like this community, for example, everyone loves sports. Like I see Leo on here who loves golf, right? Which we'll talk about, but everyone has like that special connection to something that they love. So if you can find what people love as quick as possible, that's when you'll eventually win with each other because you'll understand each other.
So I got a question here. As someone who plays the game pretty similar to you guys plant a lot of seeds bear fruit that you guys will never sit under. So I'm curious, with such an ingestion of human capital into your world, not all relationships are created equal. So how do you guys think about this? Is there a process or a bucketing mechanism for, sort of the matchmaking side of it to make sure that, you're putting the right person with the right person at the right time? How do you guys think about that from a business lens?
100%, Scott. I'm glad you brought it up. For us, it all comes down to expectation management. Because the majority of what we do is based on performance and contingent on success, we are overly transparent upfront about what's possible, what's not possible, and kind of live and breathe the ethos of, under promise, over deliver. And that starts with expectation management. So if we get on an intro call and we don't think we can actually move the needle for a potential client, customer, partner, we're going to let them know straight ahead, because that's going to save us time too. It's tough to help everyone with everything, but with what we're doing, there's a lot of opportunity, and that opportunity is never going to get smaller. So managing those expectations and being transparent for us kind of helps level set the expectation on both sides of what's to occur next and what value we can actually, I would say, can or can't bring to the table.
And Scott, I think you just mentioned something really important that I think you said at the right time also. I think when people are meeting each other, they say, okay, you should meet each other, and they have a call scheduled at a certain time or a meeting set. You never know what people are going through at that exact moment, at that exact time. So if it's not the right time, then it's always worth another conversation. So we always tell people like, hey, let's get on a call. But if they say to us, hey, I'm just like jammed right now, or right now is not the right time, don't think that as a no, think that as a not at this moment. And I think that's super important with whatever you're doing, whatever you're building.
Yeah, it's a great point. I'll actually take that a step further in a case study. We connected a family office to a venture fund maybe 8 months ago. And that was just an initial great intro call. Both sides found value in that. No immediate action items. Neither of them were ready to kind of pounce. And literally 6 months later, that same email thread was bumped up saying like, hey, we actually are ready to pick up this conversation again. Like we have some capital to deploy and the fund was raising. So the stars aligned. And now, that deal's looking like it's going to move forward. So the point is, like Jake said, timing is everything. And you don't want to force it, but you want to, that comes, I think, in tandem with the expectation management so that both sides understand, what each side's looking for. And yeah, I mean, that's just one case study there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, a lot of founders listen to this, and the natural thing is how do you get warm introductions to get capital, right? Like at some point, everyone's gonna need it, and naturally, extension of your business. I'm sure a lot of it is, yeah, we're raising money, like that's our main thing. How do you approach that, or what are some of the best things you've seen just seeing so many of these founders, and then also the capital, we'll just call them the capital deployers? What have you seen from, we'll call it the founder side, where they move well? And maybe you've assisted and you've helped create some of those warm intros, but like what are some characteristics that stand out where you're like, okay, I see why they're good at raising money, especially once you get them into a warm environment scenario?
There's a ton, there's a ton to unpack there. And just that's a great question. I would say it's like Jake said earlier, it's an art, but it's also a science. And like that middle ground, I think, is where a lot of founders find success. And so the art of it is the commonality that Jake was talking about before. The art of it is understanding the people, the personality, the characteristics, and like who they would mesh with as other people so they could do business together. The science of it is it really is a numbers game. If you're a sports tech founder and you're raising your pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series C round, there are a plethora of resources out there, both cold and warm, obviously, including Nucleus and some lists out there that show you investors that deploy capital in the sports tech ecosystem. If you can craft a message or leverage a connection that has a warm introduction to one of those, and you do that at scale and you constantly A/B test to see what is working, I think that's what we've seen be the best approach for founders, because it's not one size fits all. And one message that might resonate with one investor might get totally disregarded by another. So I think having a game plan, being strategic about who you're going after, how you're going after them, what your messaging is, it's really a story here. Is part of it, and then overlapping that with the art aspect of the people element and trying to get creative. I think there's a lot of investors, obviously they know their job is to deploy capital, so they get hit up by founders nonstop. Here's my pitch deck, here's what I'm building, here's my traction, and that's all great, and sometimes it hits. But I think even more recently we've seen a lot of creative ways in which that connection occurs and ways in which the story is portrayed that earlier on we weren't really seeing.
Yeah, I have three there, just three ideas and concepts I've really been thinking a lot more recently. The first one is, I think a lot of founders fall in love with their product and their service, that all they want to talk about is that, and they can't talk to the other person that's on the call or whoever you're trying to pitch about themselves. And everyone knows what people want to talk about the most is themselves. So I think don't fall in love with your product or service. The second one is don't overdo your numbers, because at the end of the day, these VCs and companies and angels, they want to trust you as a founder. And if you're skewing the numbers that aren't necessarily true, you instantly lose credibility. Like it's instantly done. That's what we've noticed. And then the last one is don't be afraid to get on a plane or drive to where you need to go. What we've seen is a Zoom is great. Like we're all talking to each other, but if we were shaking each other's hands, like face to face, like drinking coffee or breaking bread together at a dinner or lunch, that's when a lot of these deals now, especially when it comes to raising capital, a lot of these VCs won't even invest until they've met you in person.
No, it's a great point. Really good point. And I want to go a little sidecar here, but I think it's sort of in line. So many of the people, as you referenced earlier in the market, are take. And then when you come in with a business that gives, there's a big education curve to that, because most folks don't really understand how you're positioning yourself in the market. So I'm really curious, one, if you could just sort of unpack Nucleus at its core so that all of our, listeners can understand what you guys are doing. And then as you guys have come to market, how have you overcome the education hurdle, since there's not too many firms out there moving the way that you guys do?
Yeah, happy to touch on that. I think it's a lot easier to talk about it now, given we've kind of discussed a couple case studies or talked about the ways in which we've been able to do what we've been doing. I'll simplify it by saying we're in the business of connecting great people to great people or great companies to great companies. And we do so on a model where we are only winning if our clients are winning. There's this famous Charlie Munger quote that says, "You show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome." Our business is based off that because we want to make sure that whoever we're working alongside, working for, working with, it's not we win, you lose. It's like there's enough pie to go around for us to and the third party that's involved as well. And so what we do is we make introductions, right? We understand if you're a founder and you're looking to connect with investors, or you're looking to generate more leads, or you're looking to hire talent or string up some partnerships, all of which are areas we've been able to successfully deliver. We understand, your ideal customer profile or who you're trying to go after. We kind of sift through the network that we've built up. We have a pretty robust and granular CRM, as you can imagine, to manage the information. And we let you know, hey, these are some people you should probably chat with. Every single introduction we make, we get a double opt-in because, Scott, you might want to talk to Andrew about, playing basketball at 5, but if Andrew has no interest in playing basketball with you, we're not going to make that introduction, right? Both sides have to express interest. And so on that business front, we've made close to 1,500 introductions so far, and that's growing. And, one of the key pieces here is people say, oh, why don't you build a product or build a portal or platform? And I think there's value in that, but one of the main value perhaps for us right now is us, right? It's Jake and myself, and it's the relationships we've developed. And so that human capital, human relationship element being kind of not the middleman, but the one teeing up the conversation is the game changer. And the second we tell someone to go log up to the portal to find another investor, without that, you lose that value prop. So that's kind of the high level of the business we've built so far on the referral side.
Yeah, and adding on to that too, I think what we've seen just for being in this business for close to a year, and we've obviously before this, we've also been similar businesses like this, is the best people that get the most out of our network are the ones that are open-minded, the ones that communicate effectively. These are the people we actually even bring into the network. They communicate effectively. They're open to meeting new people. It doesn't just need to be people that will bring you leads and make you money. It could be anybody, just people that you want to meet and connect with. And then the last one is people who really believe in their product or service and what they're actually providing to the community. So that's what we look for when we're bringing people into the community. And what that really means is who we want to make intros for and who we want to make intros to.
And I'll bring that back to Profluence for a second. I mean, if we didn't believe in you guys and what, as individuals and Profluence as the community and what you're building, then this conversation wouldn't be happening. And so for us, there's kind of like a due diligence phase where we're doing the vetting process. Because if we introduce either of you or any of you on this call to a Joe Schmo, our reputation's on the line, and you're gonna come back to us when that conversation goes sour. But the opposite's also true, and we try and always focus on that positive. And so now, the reason we've been able to make so many introductions, the reason we love making introductions for you guys and this community at large, is because it reflects well on us as well. These are all good people striving towards the same goal, and so there's that win-win-win that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
Scott, I got a question if it's okay.
Here, give us 2 minutes and then we'll pull you in. We're just going to wrap up, but I'm definitely coming to you. But fellas, real quick before I bring Randy in and talk around humanizing this, I'm genuinely curious generationally in the mediums that we use for introductions. Traditionally email has been the vehicle that business operators go to. Now we see everything from Telegram to text message to handwritten notes. I'm curious, what do you find to be the most effective? Really under the guise of time, right? Because I know when you make an introduction and it doesn't get responded to in a timely manner, it has maybe a negative connotation. So would love for you guys to unpack how you do that and sort of track it to build your business.
Yeah, I could actually give credit to Jake here. When we started, I operate on email when it comes to work. Email is my to-do list. Email is where I send messages out. It's where I check for what things need to get taken care of. But that's not the case for everybody. Some people operate more effectively, quickly, more easily on text or WhatsApp, to your point, or handwritten cards. So the answer to that question, Scott, for us has been meet the client, the customer, the partner where they're most effective communicating. And it's actually as simple as asking that question up front. Hey, do you prefer text or email or phone call or FaceTime? Do you prefer in person? Like we're getting on the plane, like we talked about earlier. So that's kind of what we've been able to do. And we track that too. Like, hey, we introduced Scott to Andrew on text. That way we know if there's a follow-up to be done or another introduction to be made, text is that forum and that channel to make the next one.
Yeah, and there's so many different forms of communication. Just adding on to that, one of our partners has created a social app actually, and the only way that he likes to communicate is on this app. So we know and we have in our notes, which is so important to have like your internal CRM where you have like if possible, all the notes on the potential friends or clients or partners that you want to work with. Just know how they communicate best, know that you should reach out to them, because when you're getting spoken to too, you know how you're most effective. Like I know Scott, for you do such a good job of sending voice messages or video messages. I don't know anyone else doing that. And whenever I think you, I think that. And it just instantly like, yeah, let's go. Yeah, give yourself a that's special. Not a lot of people have, I mean, the wherewithal to know to do that, but then also like the social stature to know how to do that. But it's super impressive.
No, man, really appreciate it. And it's so neat to hear the art and the science. Give us sort of a look under the hood, right? For anyone listening that's here in attendance today, if they wanted to engage with Nucleus, what does that process look like? How do you guys vet the opportunity? Sort of walk us through, what that use case would look like.
Yeah, it's an answer that I think I can talk about forever, but I'll dumb it down real quick. It's case by case because each individual we work with is different, right? If we're working with a founder who's raising capital, that relationship with Nucleus is different than if we're working with, an agency looking to bring on new customers, which is different than an influencer looking to land brand deals. And so all those conversations have to be treated differently as well. But the crux of it all is we get on that intro call, we understand why we're talking, who introduced us, what you guys are looking, or what the client or the potential partner is looking to achieve, both personally and professionally. That way we can take our time internally. We have our own internal process to vet to make sure that we can actually add that value. Because like we spoke about earlier, we're getting better at saying no, but that also helps our partners, because if we can't help them, we don't want to string them along and say, hey, we can connect you to all these people. So we have our own, we do some reference tracks and we do our own diligence to make sure we like the product. Like Jake mentioned earlier, if we like the founder, the product, the service, the offering, it makes our job a lot easier to say, hey, Scott and Andrew, you got to check out company ABC because we love what they're building. We check them out. We use their service. It's incredible. That's a very different conversation than just like, hey, talk to them. They're building cool stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one small step of the vetting process.
And it's very, very upfront. Like we don't obviously guarantee anything. I think that's also super important about business. Like we won't guarantee any certain amount of intros. It's most of it. It's like if we see and know someone that's like top of mind that we can send your way, that's exactly what we'll do. But I think with the Profluence community also, I think it's also, for example, when you have children and you say to them, hey, what do you want to eat for dinner? Or like even your wife or your significant other, and they don't really know, they're just like, I don't know. It's hard to work with folks like that. But if you say to us, hey, here's exactly who I want to talk to, or something within this realm, that helps us from a Nucleus perspective, because we know exactly where we can put you and put you in touch with. And we're not kind of just playing the guessing game. I think that's just important for business in general now. There's so many options and so many distractions. The clearer you are with your message or who you want to meet, that helps us the most.
And I think that helps us all in life. That's just good life advice. But that takes a lot to have that clarity. Last question, then we're going to open it up. I know a few folks have some questions for you guys. But you see so much. You're not vertical specific. So you're seeing it from multiple perspectives across verticals. What's got you guys most excited, that's come across your desk in the last 6 months?
It's a great question. There's one company we're working with very closely now. They've become very close friends of ours. They're building an awesome product, and it's a company called Going Public. They're building the next generation of Shark Tank. So the difference is viewers, like all the people on this call, can click to invest while watching the show. And so it's a really sick idea. It's a commonly pitched idea, but they've actually executed it. They've been building this business for 7 or 8 years. And what's cool about it for us is there's so many different ways that we can get it. We have been getting and are continuing to get involved, from deal flow to companies to be featured on the show, the capital raising side, partnerships and sponsorships, even like helping them build out their team. It's it's the perfect intersection of like education and entertainment. And so they're a company that we're really, really bullish on right now. Todd and Darren are incredible founders. So shout out to them.
Yeah, mine is just being in the New York ecosystem. We're here on 14th and 4th and just hosting events. Like tonight, we're doing an event with Row, which is a big banking company here in New York. We'll have 20 founders just all come together and meet each other. And we'll be doing probably 6 or 7 of those just this month with all different types of companies that are bringing us in to help them kind of work with the right people and bring the right people into these rooms. So that's what I'm most excited about, just bringing people together in person.
Man, I love it. In a world where AI is starting to dominate every conversation, humans aren't evolving as quickly. So the tribal community aspect is not going anywhere anytime soon. So genuinely, guys, thank you for what you guys are doing for the business community and for Profluence. We'll elaborate more on the partnership, but this opens up, access to the Nucleus group for, our members to be able to reach out, explore, how they can take advantage of these services and just genuinely build good friendships. So Landon, going to come down to you, and then Randy coming over to you next. So floor is yours, my friend.
Thanks, Scott. I had one question, but now I have two. The first question is, can we see that bicep again?
As a punter, baby, we still got it.
Hey, Jake and Michael, thank you a ton for sharing your expertise with us. Question for you, and it's based on a lot of the things that we've spoken about here, is I'm a founder looking for investors. What is the best thing that I can give back or give initially to guys like you? Because I always feel like I'm starting off the relationship by asking. So curious what your thoughts are of like, what would you like to receive from a founder looking for capital?
By the way, Landon, clearly you were listening because the whole conversation was about give before take. So +1 to you there, and appreciate you offering. For Jake and I, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Like there's so many people we've been able to help and so many people we can help that, it's a good and bad thing at the same time, because we kind of have to start to be a little bit strategic about who to focus on to actually move the needle for. So to answer your question, we've seen a lot of success in this ecosystem at large. And when I say the ecosystem, I'm referring to startup founders and the venture ecosystem, because it's a flywheel. Like they feed each other, right? The startups can't operate or grow without the VCs. The VCs can't raise more capital, raise more funds, and deploy more capital without the startups. So that middle ground is kind of where we flourish. So for example, Landon, if you yourself, or if you have any other founder friends or investor friends who are open-minded to growing their own network, to seeing more deal flow, to investing in more companies, that's kind of the environment that we've been finding success in. So open to chatting to any people.
Yeah, and my answer to that is I would love to see like the blurb in the company. That's what I want to see. So like as far as giving, I just want to see what you have to offer and see how we can help. That's what I want to see.
Okay, so it's not a huge like turnoff for you guys if the first thing is like, hey, can I share my pitch deck? You're not. I mean, I would love to have something else I could give to you guys, or a potential investor, but I'm always struggling with that. Is like right out of the gate, I'm like, hey, give me.
Right. What does your company do, if you don't mind me asking?
It's a B2B SaaS for strength and conditioning coaches at pro, university, and gym levels.
So is there something like a free membership? Is there something that you can give? Okay, so maybe that's a good way to start these conversations of just like the give mentality, where you're not just getting on the phone saying this, hey, I would love to get on the call with you. Here's a free month of my service so you can check it out before you get on, or something of that nature.
Okay.
There's a guy named Stephen Harward. I'm sure some people here know him. He runs Prime Corporate Services. It's one of the fast growing accounting companies in America. He's in the network as well. Before he gets on any call with anybody, he gets their address and he sends them an actual gift. I think he sends a $5 gift card to somewhere, because before he even gets on the call, he wants to have some kind of leverage and value that he's given. So if you actually want to give something of like serious, like monetary value to someone, it's not the worst idea to start doing that. And that's how he's been able to scale his company, which is pretty incredible.
Well, there's also the balance between perceived value and cost, right? So for Landon, if you have a B2B SaaS business and you have a freemium model, it costs you little to nothing to give a freemium seat or a trial of that software to myself, to Jake, to Andrew, to Scott, to a potential investor without asking for anything. Hey, investor ABC, I saw you invested in companies that are, in this space. I wanted to give you this because it felt like it'd be right up your alley. And then that's it, period, full stop. Now, if they respond, if they engage, if they like the product, the conversation for you actually asking for something, whether it's 24 hours or 24 days later, is a totally different conversation, because you led with kindness, you led with giving and not asking for anything in return. And it could be as small as, the freemium seat on your software.
Got it. Cool. That's awesome. Thank you.
And what a great foundation to lay to bring my man Randy Ostrell on, which is all around personalizing in the digital age. So Randy Ostrell, floor is yours, my friend.
So I just have, by the way, Jake, you and I met years ago in Florida. I don't know if you remember. And
I remember.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Michael. Here, I'm just making some notes. Congrats on everything you guys are doing. I think your company name is not an A. I think it's an A+. I see a lot of company names. They are not nearly as good as yours. The theme of giving here today, the conversation, I would be remiss if I didn't say rest in peace to our friend John Rulin, who wrote Giftology. I'm assuming you guys have read that book. And then my last question is, and I might be using jargon, it's more for Jake, in your business, are you guys using an overlap agreement as you bring people together from your previous universe?
Yeah, similar to an overlap agreement, which I think everybody should be using. An overlap agreement should be used in every business that you do, because especially with people that you know, like, and trust, that's who you should be doing business with. They want you to win, like Michael said at the beginning of the call. They want you to win when you're helping them win. So we have a similar type of agreement that we put up with, or that we work with our partners and clients. And the beauty of something like that is it's both ways. And I think a lot of people, when they think referrals, is like, hey, send me referrals and I'll take care of you. But it's the other way around. It's, hey, I'll send you people, but send us people back. Like, even people that you know that are looking to raise capital or need the best graphic designer, or even want to join like the Profluence community, you should be setting something up with them that you're working for it on both sides. And that's how we've done no outbound for our company in a year. And it's all been because of this both-sided opportunity.
So just I want to follow up on one quick thing, and it is part of that agreement. And I'm talking psychologically, it's like, okay, we've agreed to do something, right? And we're kind of in alignment now. But doesn't that also serve an internal purpose for Nucleus, in the sense that it's like, this is important. We got to follow up with this. And if we didn't have this, even though it's just a silly PDF or whatever, it almost becomes like your funnel. The more of those overlap agreements that you have, and you vetted the good people out from the shitty people, it kind of is a high level arts and crafts way of looking at a funnel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I'll take it a step further. It's a great point. We're more quality over quantity, right? Because we'd rather have, I'm making this number up, 15, 30, 50 partners that we're actually driving value for, moving the needle for, making an impact, as opposed to 500 where we're only touching a couple of them. So it goes back to the expectation management side too. Like, I had a call today, actually, just before this, where, you know, we're looking to sign a potential, a similar agreement. And I said, listen, we might have someone for you, but if we get this agreement signed now, no sweat off either of our backs. Tomorrow, I can get on a call with someone who's looking for the services you're offering. That could change at the snap of a finger. And to have that in place now sets us both up for success for when that later time comes, make the connection, see if we can establish some sort of partnership, and all three of us win. Now, if that's not established, no, not a problem. We're just a little bit behind, because now when that opportunity comes, it's like back to square one where we can have that conversation again.
I'm proud of you guys, man. This is awesome. Congratulations. Look forward to reconnecting. This is amazing.
Hey, Randy. Good to see you, Randy.
Very cool.
You too. Thank you.
We'll open it back up. Leo, Bob, Aaron, anybody have any questions while we got these guys on the line? Jake, I got a question that's sort of in lieu, you know, working with Leo in this creator economy. You know, we've built so many, there's sort of been this notion of followers, right? And how do we think about followers versus actual people that are in your inner circle? And then how do you transition linear followers on social into like transactable business relationships? And so this is something we've been working at scale. Aaron Eisman, I see you, you know, we talk about this with brands, with creators. Guys, I'd love your insights on like how do you work with companies to take those large social followings and transition them into real business relationships?
Yeah, I'll definitely take this one. So in my previous career, I was working with Gary Vee, who of course has multi-millions of followers, and then David Meltzer, of course, who has a ton of followers also. What I think the key is when you post something on social, let's say you have 100,000 followers, think about how many people that is. That's like the big house, the University of Michigan big house. How do you target that one person in the crowd that you want to be your, not your follower, but your ambassador? It's to reach out to them personally. So what I would do if I had that big of a following, even if I had 10,000 followers, I'd be spending as much time as possible DMing every single one of the people that are, first I'd start with the people that are liking my stuff, because those are your most engaged followers, or first start with the comments, and then go to the likes and reach out to them with a very simple message, just being like, thank you for following my page. I appreciate you. Like something very basic that they want to hear from you. So then you're moving it from the thousands to now it's one-on-one. And then once you've reached out to them, find a way to continue staying up with their life. So making your own group, even whether it be a WhatsApp group or an Instagram group. And then I think Instagram is kind of shying away from creating these communities, and everyone now is starting to move over to LinkedIn. So I was going to say to Leo, by the way, if I were you, Leo, I would just be posting on LinkedIn as much as possible, like more on LinkedIn actually than Instagram, and branding yourself as the golf guy, like something of that nature. Because Andrew does such a good job at this, Andrew Petcash over there. Like I think we all follow Andrew, whenever he posts on LinkedIn, we're all there to comment and like it. Just the algorithm is so much better there. So I'd be doing, of course, continue to do your thing on Instagram, DM as much as you can one-on-one. But then when you want to do one-to-many, I'd just be pushing it all to LinkedIn and just like becoming and branding yourself as the golf guy.
And I just gotta put in a point before Leo, you go. Gary, so my brother runs a big fitness account. He has like 150,000 on Instagram, and Gary V just messaged him the other day. Obviously, it's probably not actually Gary, but it was like keep grinding or something like that. And I was like, that's so smart of him. Like that was genius. So anyway, I know where it came from.
That was probably Gary, by the way, because I used to work there. Gary does that himself. Yeah, some people on his team send him like on Instagram, hey, you should check this out. And then he goes in himself and actually comments. Yeah, he's special like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, it's super cool. This is insightful. And I think the biggest umbrella today, guys, is like, just be human. I see you, Aaron Eisman, coming to you, buddy. But like, just be human and like be a likable, generous, respectful human. And like business just tends to follow. And it's a way better transaction than like trying to cram square pegs in round holes. And, I've watched Jake now through his progression and like, dude, this is the happiest you've ever been. Like, it's so neat to watch. You're just like right where you're supposed to be. And two things can be true where you can build a great network and build a great business. And then as a byproduct of the triangle, you get a lot of really good friends. And now all of a sudden it just turns into a lifestyle. So Eisman, take us home, man. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll see Mike and Jake both at the IU alum event next week. So looking forward to that. But I was just going to say, LinkedIn's been super helpful for me. 60 to 70% of my business has been like off LinkedIn, off of warm intros or reaching out to the right people that need help on social media, because that's what I do at Eisman Digital. But I was just wondering, how do you sound like you have a good CRM, but how do you keep track of connecting Johnny over here with this VC or this person over here with that, like, and keeping track of the deal flow and all that stuff? I think it seems to be like, obviously probably a lot going on, but what's the process look like, I guess?
Yeah, great question. We when we started this company almost exactly a year ago, we actually were operating in stealth mode to get that question answered. We had to kind of custom build a CRM for us to fit our needs and make sure we could track all the important pieces of information, right? So if I introduce Scott to, Andrew Eisman, Aaron Eisman, I want to be able to say, okay, this introduction was made on Tuesday, September 3rd. This introduction was made on text. This is why the introduction was made, and this is the latest status of that introduction. Because anybody can make an introduction, but the real value is in that follow-up, right? And because I know both sides, I know Aaron and I know Scott, I can help with the follow-up on each of those sides, and I can help understand what each side's thinking on that conversation. So tracking that is of the utmost importance. I mean, it's the lifeline of our business. And so we have a very, very specific granular routine to input these introductions into our intro tracker, for lack of a better term.
And we use ClickUp. That's the platform we're using to do that. Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of them out there. You can use Notion, you can use Monday.com, you can use Airtable. I mean, you can use Google Sheets. It's whatever works for you, but that's what we decided to go with.
And as a connector, the best hire you can make is the operation person that's going to put the science to your art, because if it's all art, then you're just a poor, broke artist out there. And that's not why we do it. So, guys, this has been great. You dropped so many nuggets for us. If people in the community on the podcast want to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with both of you guys individually, Nucleus as a whole? Round us out that way.
Yeah, first they got to get past Scott's guns. So first you got to do that. Once you're past his guns, then you can let us know. No, but we're super excited to be part of this Profluence community. I know both Andrew and Scott, and also Raluca over there. I think she's not on video, but Raluca is incredible as well. I don't know if the community has all met her, but she is one of a kind. You got a great one there. And yeah, if anyone wants to connect with us, you can just reach out to us you can go to our website, thenucleusnetwork.com. You can reach out to myself, Jake at thenucleusnetwork.com, Michael at thenucleusnetwork.com. I can share my number too on the follow-up. Michael, I'm sure will also. And we'd love to chat with everybody in the community. And I'm sure we'll be working with a lot of you more in depth and closer. So we're really excited to dive deeper.
Yeah, and Andrew and Scott, thanks a lot for putting this together. And the community you guys have built is incredible. So like Jake said, looking forward to continuing to build with all of you guys.
First of many, fellas. We appreciate you, and as always, guys, the magic's in the follow-up. So be sure to reach out to these guys at Nucleus, top notch, and let's keep making things stack.